Roma sta rischiando un po' con questo disimpegno, anche lui non risulta da ex giallorosso toccato da Cafù, e mi dispiace segnalare i fischi dello stadio olimpico. Cafù è uno che qui
Yes, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to the World Game as we turn our attention to local matters and the Hindmarsh NSL Championship Series. And if you haven't already heard, Parramatta Power is the first team through to the grand final after beating Perth Glory 2-0 last night for a convincing 6-2 aggregate victory in the major semi-final. We'll have more on that match later, as well as some very big news from the Parramatta Power camp. That's coming up after our feature match from Hindmarsh Stadium. It's last night's dramatic minor semi-final between Adelaide United and South Melbourne. The winner goes on to meet Perth in the preliminary final. And to help us preview this sudden death clash, I'm joined by a man who scored 124 times in the NSL, Francis Sawaratifi. Afternoon again, Francis. Hello. It's a big game, obviously, for Adelaide. Let's focus on them first, because in front of the big crowds they've been having over there, over 16,500 in fact for this one, they're playing almost with a 12th man. Would you agree that a lot of this has had to do with their good form this season as well?
Oh, look, without a doubt. I think there's obviously when you're winning games and you've been successful on the field, in a market like Adelaide, where they've been crying out for a team like Adelaide United for years, it's something that's obviously could be expected that they're going to pack out the stadium, and it's fantastic to see that, and they've done it again for it's 2 or 3 weeks in a row now.
Take us through the strengths of this Adelaide team, because they were cobbled together at the last minute under John Kosmina, and they've done rather well, you'd have to say.
Look, they've done fantastically well. I think that if you look at it, it was a nucleus of basically the teams, the Adelaide teams over the years, the Adelaide City teams over the years. So with the backbone of the likes of Aurelio Vidmar, Carl Veart, obviously Marco Valkanis, and 1 or 2 other players, Goran Lozanovski amongst that experienced guys there. But when you look at their team, their strength is down their spine. When you look at Michael Valkanis, Goulding, who wasn't even a regular last year, was struggling to get a game in the team. Rees is another player who struggled last year to play, and this year he's a regular in the side. And then you go through Ross Aloisi, they brought him back from Italy, and obviously up front, Carl Veart's been converted back from a defender into a striker, and he's been a tower of strength with his goals this year.
I wonder what you can tell us though, Francis, about the weaknesses of this team as we take a look at some of the highlights from last week. Of course, Adelaide were very lucky to scrape through to this stage of the Championship Series, because they were leading 3-0 from the first leg in the one of the elimination bouts against Brisbane, but they lost 4-1 in this one and went through by virtue of the away goals rule. Do you think mentally perhaps they are a little susceptible there?
No, not really. I think that they just they started off a bit slowly. I think Brisbane really came out, we've been really positive, had a real go, and they got rewarded for their positive attitude with the goals that they got early. And I think in these sorts of situations as well, when Brisbane had scored the first one and then they got the second goal as well, there's an element of panic does set in. I mean, I know, because I've been in this situation myself with Marconi when we played in Adelaide years ago. An element of panic sets in, and that's where your experienced players need to take control and to really try and dictate play to the junior guys. But once they'd scored a goal, they'd settled down, and once they'd scored a goal, they sort of settled down a bit and relaxed a little bit. Even then, Brisbane kept going.
So what can you say then about the weaknesses of the Adelaide team? Is there an area which South Melbourne could really focus on?
I think basically South Melbourne have got to go at them, especially from the flanks. I think they've really got to have a go. Boutsianis, he's got to play with a lot more freedom than he probably does now than he has done with this year, because I think he's not played with the sort of freedom I've seen him play with in a number of years gone, and he is definitely someone that will win the game for them if they let him play a roving free kind of role in the midfield, as opposed to maybe playing out wide as a winger.
Okay, well, let's focus a bit more on South Melbourne now, Francis, because obviously it's a very interesting team in that they have lots of experience. Interestingly, you've got Paul Trimboli coming off the bench in this championship series for the first time. Remember, Galekovic is on the bench as well, and probably just one change with Simon Story out, but we've got Vince Leah coming in. So what do you think really is the key to this South Melbourne team doing well here?
Well, for me, it's their midfield. I mean, and that's probably what's let them down in the second half of the season. I think they started off so well, you know, especially in the middle. They had Stojopoulos and Murdocca, and those two were a rock. They were really solid, they were consistent, they played really well through about halfway through the year, and then they had the disruption with the call-ups to the Australian team for Murdocca and Vince Leah. And then when those two young lads came back, South just lost their way, and I think they've got so many midfielders and so many different combinations. Stuart Munro hasn't been able to find that, whatever that X factor is, he hasn't been able to find it since the second half of the season, and I think that's been the problem. If they can sort out the right combination in the middle of their midfield, I think that will go a long way towards them winning the game.
Okay, and also the combination in attack and the chances they've been able to create has been an issue as well, because they had somewhat of a panic, or if you like, a problem scoring goals this season towards the end of the campaign, as we saw in the latter stages of the championship, but they managed to score when it mattered last week against Marconi. Michael Curcija, Francis, he is a former youth international, and he produced on this occasion when I think they hadn't scored in so many matches. They snapped a 6-game winless streak as well, and after the scoreless draw with Olympic in the regular season, the scoreless draw with Marconi in the first leg of this tie, they came out and really produced when it mattered, do you think?
Yeah, that's right. Look, I've always been adamant that it's not a thing to do with their strikers, because their strikers have scored goals most of this season. I mean, Coveny, even though he's come back and started playing as an out-and-out striker in the last week or so, he's played wide on the right, he's still scored goals. Michael Curcija, he's scored fairly consistently through the year. Your strikers every now and again are going to go through a bad patch, so if that's going to happen, your goals have to come from elsewhere. So, and I think that's where South maybe have struggled a little bit, in that because, as I said, with the problems at the middle of their midfield, that they've struggled really to come up with someone who's going to score goals consistently from the middle of their midfield throughout the season.
Where do you think Adelaide could expose South Melbourne in this one?
I think it's basically going to be a question of cat and mouse. Both teams are very strong defensively, so I really can't see that it's going to be I think South probably do have the edge in attack, and I think that's where South Melbourne have just got that unpredictability with players like Coveny and Boutsianis, that they can produce something out of nothing. Whereas I think Adelaide are probably a little bit more predictable, and a lot of their stuff tends to go through Veart. But Fred Agius is a young player who does give him something special. He can do something a little bit different up front. So I think that's where he might be the one who can provide the spark for them.
Okay, well, in their last meeting at Hindmarsh Stadium, it was a 2-0 victory for Adelaide United. Let's just take a look at those highlights, because, of course, it was an important win at that time, racing into the finals for Adelaide. You had Nick Budin, who scored after 6 minutes, and then Ross Aloisi after 31 minutes. This was back on the 6th of February, and it was the first of 4 consecutive wins for Adelaide United before they suffered a couple straight losses, including one at home against Parramatta Power in the run to the finals, but they bounced back with that win over Brisbane in the elimination semi-final first leg. So for South, of course, this was the first of 4 straight defeats, and then they had a couple scoreless draws, as we spoke about earlier, before beating Marconi 2-0 to go through to this stage. And South, would you believe, have not scored away from home going into this one since December 19, Francis.
Yes, well, I alluded to the fact about halfway through the year, I think in one of my match previews, that Ross Aloisi was one player that they needed more goals from the middle of the midfield, and in the final stages he has started to come up with goals, and I think they need that because, as I said, most of the goals have come from Veart, and you cannot rely on him all the time because your goals need to come from other avenues, and that's one weakness I see in the Adelaide team, that there's so much of a reliance on Veart. If you look at the top teams, your Parramatta's and your Perth Glories, they're strikers. They play in twos. You know, you've got your Maury, Despotovsky, you've got Murdocca, Parramatta Power have got Petrovsky, obviously Milicic, and you've got Travis Dodd. So they've got these strikers who can score goals. So these teams, I mean, unfortunately for South Melbourne, Curcija's been the only regular forward who's been scoring, although Coveny has been backing him up, even though he's been playing from a wide midfield role.
Okay, well, I spoke a moment ago about the South Melbourne team news. There's also some team news, of course, involving Adelaide. David Terminello, he goes out for this one, and Christian Rees and Matthew Kemp are in. Shane Thompson goes to the bench, and Boutsianis is suspended because he took a red card last week against Brisbane, any of those changes do you think will affect much of the style of Adelaide, do you think?
Not really. I think that those players that are coming in have been now. I mean, I think Christian Rees was probably a regular player for most of the year anyway, so they're not really losing anything there. So I think that he'll slot in seamlessly there at the back. And I expect Adelaide to just go out and play their normal game. They're a very composed team. They're very patient. They play pretty much a similar style to the old Adelaide team, probably a bit more freedom. They're not as structured as under Zoran Madic, but they're also very hard to break down. And I think that's where South are going to find it hard to break them down.
OK, Francis, thank you for a moment. We'll see you again at half-time. But 16,558 fans have packed Hindmarsh Stadium for this one. It is a club record for the season. So let's go to our match commentators now for the action, and they are Michael Cockrell and Craig Foster.
Well, everything to play for over the next 90 minutes or so. And both teams will certainly be relying on the older heads. There's a sprinkling of both in either side, the likes of Veart and Vidmar, Valkanis, Alagich for Adelaide United, Kovacevic, Coveny, Boutsianis leading the line for South Melbourne. South Melbourne, of course, eliminating Marconi Stallions over 2 legs in their elimination semi-final. Adelaide United getting home by the narrowest of margins against the Brisbane Strikers. The referee this evening, Simon Mikulev, who has officiated in 16 games so far this season. An experienced whistleblower, and he is certainly looking forward to the occasion as well. And the two captains now will take the toss. Vaughan Coveny for South Melbourne, Aurelio Vidmar for Adelaide United. And Craig, just a quick word on the importance of this toss with this wind blowing from the southern end of the ground. A strong wind as well.
It is quite strong coming through, you're right. Over the course of 90 minutes, of course, I think it'll even out. The real question mark may be fatigue for both sides. Of course, Adelaide United started the season very, very late. They've had a very tough run in.
Well, we'll take a look at the lineups first. Adelaide United, one change made by John Kosmina. Into the side, Matthew Kemp returns from a long-standing injury to replace David Terminello on the right-hand side. Otherwise, the same team which disposed of the Brisbane Strikers. As we've already mentioned, it's the older heads, the Alagiches, the Valkanises, Aloisi, Veart and Vidmar, who will be so important to the home team this evening.
Certainly Adelaide United and the coach John Kosmina will want a good start tonight. He'll be looking to skipper Aurelio Vidmar, one of the finest Socceroos in the last decade, playing at sweeper. They play with 2 centre halves. Alagich, great servant of the game here in South Australia, plays right. Goulding on the left. Agius is a real talent, and Ross Aloisi, come back from overseas, is the real engine room for this Adelaide United side.
There he is, Freddie Agius, who has been linked to a call-up to the Olympic team in the next week or so. South Melbourne team news, they also have an injury problem. Simon Story ruled out with a hamstring problem at training last night. His place on the left-hand side of the midfield will be taken by young Vince Leah. Top goal scorer Michael Curcija, back to form with 2 goals against Marconi Stallions last week, will provide the spearhead in attack.
Levent Osman, we saw him last couple of weeks ago against Marconi, up there at Marconi Stadium, simply outstanding in the heart of defence. Kovacevic as well, former Adelaide player, very steady at sweeper. Poutakidis, Leah, Panopoulos, again the injury room in the centre. Murdocca and Boutsianis are crucial. 2 very skillful match winners.
So we're all set. It's the minor semi-final. South Melbourne up against Adelaide United. Everything to play for. Sudden death time in the Hobart Championship Series. The home team to get the game underway. A huge roar goes up as Aloisi spreads the ball out to that left-hand side. A rehearsed move by the home team. Poutakidis with the challenge for South Melbourne. They're piling in, and the referee will have to sort it out. And the free kick goes to Adelaide.
A good start, and doesn't the home crowd love it? It's going to be the real question mark tonight. Johnny Warren before the match saying it can work either way. If Adelaide United get on top, Mike, in the early stages, you'll see the crowd really drive them on. South Melbourne are to have a good start, be a rod on their backs.
So some of the tall timber's gone up for Adelaide, whipped in from the left-hand side. And a contest at the back post was a heavy one. Steve Laurie, I think it was, trying to defend his goal. Michael Valkanis, who never shirks a challenge, was up there for Adelaide United. And Vince Leah just saying, let's calm things down. The early pressure coming from the home team.
Good delivery, just deep enough to tempt the keeper. So the keeper think about coming, thought better of it, and rightly so. It's pretty well defended at the back post.
As we mentioned, a strong wind behind South Melbourne. So Galekovic should get plenty of distance with these kicks. And challenge though there on Christian Rees.
Of course, we saw South Melbourne a couple of weeks ago now play against Marconi up in Sydney. A little bit short on confidence. Very content to sit back and try and soak up the pressure. They scored a couple last week though. Expect to see a more confident South Melbourne.
Laurie under pressure, puts it over the sideline. Nick Budin, the lone striker in this Adelaide United formation, supported from midfield by Fred Agius. Here's Budin. Alagich volleys it in towards the middle. Agius was there, but Kovacevic had the height. A chance for South Melbourne to settle for the first time. Boutsianis releasing on the left-hand side. Coveny, those long legs at full stretch. Waits for the support to arrive. Good ball inside Panopoulos. What a challenge that was. What a significant challenge that was. And I think it was Aaron Goulding for Adelaide who comes away with the football. Had to time it perfectly.
Great challenge. Tell you what, it was a fantastic counter-attack though. It was Boutsianis who put Coveny through. See, that's a rehearsed move. Coveny pulled right off to the left touchline, straight in behind Adelaide defence.
Matthew Kemp. That's a poor ball in by Kemp. Matthew Kemp, who's had an injury-plagued season, but certainly a player of real talent. Came back from injury a bit early at the turn of the year and had to recuperate. Trained well during the week. David Terminello ruled out with a stomach problem tonight. Boutsianis drifting to the left to find some room. Closed down quickly by Alagich. Leah is inside, so too Murdocca. They backed off Massimo Murdocca. And Alagich again timing it well. The referee well positioned. Oh, Veart almost playing his way into trouble. Aloisi now gets away from Panopoulos. Panopoulos gets in at the second attempt, but the challenge was an illegal one. And again, Simon Micallef close to the action.
Panopoulos' hands go up. A bit of words exchanged between Aloisi and Panopoulos. What a battle that'll be in the heart of the midfield. You saw the competitiveness of Aloisi on that occasion. His touch took him past Panopoulos. Just a hint of an elbow coming out as well from Ross Aloisi. How good he's been, come back from overseas. John Perrin, operations manager, he's getting real value for money this season. Ross Aloisi.
And it comes from Aloisi. And Galekovic watches it all the way. He has Poutakidis on his right. Panopoulos as well. Kovacevic goes long. Now Curcija. This near touchline. 12 goals this season for Michael Curcija, equal top goal scorer for South Melbourne. His most valuable goal certainly came last week in that elimination semi-final against Marconi, as Poutakidis tries his luck, and David Scarsella at full stretch has to make the save. Maybe the wind catching the ball in flight made it a little more difficult.
It was an intelligent effort, Mike. It was held up well by Coveny. It's good play, in fact. Out of midfield, it was Murdocca, played it across to Coveny, held it up, laid it in for the first time strike. Just tried a lovely little dinker to the far post. The wind behind, just tended to drift a little bit too much for Scarcella's liking. Good start to the match.
And Boutsianis very slow to get across to take the corner.
Around too long.
Frustration of the home fans, who I'm sure will give him plenty throughout the evening.
No doubt. So they should. He is key to this match tonight, to their hopes. Going one better last season and making the grand final.
Whipped in by Boutsianis. What a swerve on it, and Scarsella decides to punch. Leah. Well, Vince Leah has yet to score his first goal in the National League. 50 games, no goals.
Yeah, on the basis of that, it's difficult to see that changing tonight, although it is early in the match. It was a good delivery from Boutsianis. The reason I like it is because Scarsella in goal for United was a little bit shaky away from home against Brisbane last week. A lot of balls in the box. With an aerial test of him tonight, I'm sure that will not have escaped the attention of South Melbourne.
Michael Panopoulos, who will run the midfield for South Melbourne. The playmaker of this visiting team. Boutsianis. Aloisi in strongly. Murdocca. Quick turn away from Budin. Ball inside. Agius, but his touch let him down. And he dived in, showed the studs. The referee decides it's an infringement. South Melbourne take the free kick in a hurry. Kovacevic trying to pick out Curcija.
See a lot of that
Rees
tonight.
inside. Vidmar just got there in the nick of time.
Quick free kicks. South Melbourne, it's all about counter-attack for them away from home. Certainly probably in its first 20 or 30 minutes and maybe for the first half, I would think. Trying to slow down the play. As soon as they get the ball at the back, they will try and get in behind as soon as possible.
Coveny with the flick on. And Boutsianis was lurking with intent, and Alagich just got his toe to the ball. Well, almost 8 minutes gone, no goals, but you have to say South Melbourne have settled very well.
Certainly have. That's 2 or 3 last-ditch tackles and touches on the ball from Adelaide, and that's not good sign. You want to see your defence nice and solid.
Boutsianis with a long throw. Free header from Vidmar, but doesn't really clear the lines. Now a chance for Agius, who has some room but not a lot of support. It's an interesting tactical battle. The home team playing really with one striker, the visiting team playing with 2. Not often you see that.
Oh, you're right. I just feel that probably Kovacevic as well after last week's game where they conceded 4 away from home after being tight defensively. Can't take it away from him. He's set himself out today for the first half as well, just to make sure they don't concede. Apologies. They do push Agius forward very, very quickly. For those people at home who haven't seen Fred Agius as a footballer, Mike, I can tell you he is an enormous talent, this kid. Wonderful skill on the ball. I like to see him getting forward so early. If he gets a 1-on-1, look out.
Well, there is talk that he will be a surprise call-up to the Olyroos for their game against Greece in a couple of weeks. That's how much he's impressed national coach Frank Farina.
I think he's capable at that level.
He, of course, has played for Australia at under-17 level, but lost his way, you'd have to say. A couple of disappointing seasons with Sydney Olympic, and spent last winter playing AFL football here in Adelaide, so a man of many talents.
Incredible story. He's only knee-high as well. It's difficult to see how he could have played SAFL, but they say it did him the world of good. He bulked up a little bit, toughened up a little bit. He's been very, very good for him in this season.
Kovacevic is Levin Osman. Alagich. Down the line is Aloisi. Is he quick enough to get there? The ball rolling away from him, but he will get the ball in time. Whips it into the near post. And that was courageous defending from Steve Laurie, who was under enormous pressure. Good move from Adelaide United. Their best of the game so far.
Second time Laurie's had to make a last-ditch header. The ball was good from Alagich. He just felt it might have got away from him. Mate, it was a very good cross to the near post. Freddie Agius coming in against Laurie. Bit of a mismatch. Like to see a taller player getting in the box. Good signs, though.
Agius with the corner. A low corner. Away by Leah. Just Curcija up for South Melbourne, and he made the mistake of waiting for the ball to arrive. It didn't get there. Agius again. Vidmar has missed that in flight. Danger here now. Boutsianis is away in the clear. Curcija stretching his legs in the middle to try to get on the end of it. And there it is, the first goal, the counter-attack from South Melbourne punishes Adelaide United, and it's the man in form, Michael Curcija, who puts the ball in the back of the net.
And they have silenced the Adelaide crowd. We said 5 minutes ago, it's all about counter-attack for this team away from home. They know that this crowd is going to spur on the United side. They're waiting for the opportunity. And in this case, it's been a mistake from the skipper, Aurelio Vidmar. Misjudged the ball. Went over his head and it was 2-on-1 and it was very, very good play by Boutsianis. Too experienced. Young player may have taken a strike from that position, but not Butsi. Comes straight in at an angle, straight to the goal. You see Curcija making his way through the centre of the park, and that is a good finish.
And that is, I have to say, a goal scorer's instinct as well, because Curcija just knew what was coming. He knew if he put the hard yards in, something might happen. It did. South Melbourne have taken the lead, and the feeling's just boiling over a little bit there. After the restart, clumsy challenge made near this touchline by Steve Laurie, and he'll get a word from the referee. What a setback that is for Adelaide United.
It's a real test now, and it's a test for the crowd as well. It's their first season, remember, they've been behind them all season. For one of the rare times, they're going to have to bring them back, cheer them home from behind. Couldn't believe his luck, Curcija there. The ball went over Aurelio Vidmar. You don't expect it from the former Socceroo. Misjudged that bounce. And as he turned, he saw 2-on-1. He read the play beautifully.
Hey, just with the free kick, he'll whip it in towards the penalty spot. Difficult ball to defend, but Panopoulos has done ever so well. Well, that seemed to come off Michael Panopoulos. That is certainly what Carl Veart is claiming. We'll have another look at the replay. And yes, it did come off the South Melbourne player, so a let-off here for the visiting team. It should have been a corner, none given. 13 minutes gone, South Melbourne 1, leading Adelaide United 0. And again, Vidmar has missed the ball in flight. Curcija, down he goes. The challenge came from Vidmar. And Curcija appealing in vain for a penalty.
Tell you what, this is dangerous play for Aurelio. He has got the ball. Good work. Great work in the box, but again he's misjudged the bounce.
Well, this wind is certainly causing problems for Adelaide United defensively. Boutsianis with the corner to the edge of the box. Murdocca is unmarked. And Adelaide United defensively are all over the shop.
A variation from the set piece from the corner. Play it back to Murdocca, asking a lot of him. Striking on his right foot from outside the box. Still, you don't need to hit the target. So many players around the 12-yard spot. Any deflection in situation can be terminal.
Budin with the header. Kemp trying to make things happen. Poutakidis takes no chances.
United coach John Cosmine has talked all season, Mike, about the spirit of this United side. Said it's the best he's ever worked with. Going to need to call on that spirit and the experience of the older heads this game tonight.
Still plenty of time, of course, for Adelaide United to dig themselves out of this hole. Budin wins the header. Osman under no pressure at all. Looks up, goes down the line towards Coveny, who generally wins most of his contests in the air. Aloisi, Veart with a switch. Alagich, better play from United. Kemp. Rees with the up and under. Aloisi trying to bring the ball down in defence of Aurelio Vidmar, who will certainly take responsibility for the goal. The ball is swirling around in this wind. Every time the ball is head forward, it's difficult for the players to bring it down, really. The pitch is also reasonably firm, so it's not sitting, so maybe not as easy as it looks.
No, I think you're right. He must have played a part in that. Aurelio Vidmar, so experienced. He's had a good season too, a couple of seasons.
Alagich has the throw. Looking for Budin. 1 in in the air by Laurie. There's Goulding. Left it short. In quickly was Kovacevic. Aloisi cleaning up. Agius trying to keep the ball in play, but Poutakidis shepherds it over the line, and there's a bit of a disagreement after the ball goes over. We'll have another look at that goal. Boutsianis it was who escaped down the left, and Curcija, a good poacher's goal, a good striker's instinct. The run came from the halfway line, and in the end it was a simple finish for a player of Michael Curcija's ability. Goal number 13 of the season, and enough to give South Melbourne the lead here at the Hindmarsh Stadium. Veart. And Galekovic comes a long way outside his area, but gets away with it. Here's Leah. Coveny. Puts it in towards that near post. This time Vidmar was well placed. Budin. Kemp comes inside his man, still with Matthew Kemp. Good ball inside. Agius will want to work it onto his left foot. Support arrives in the form of Alagich, playing his 200th game, but he can't beat Kovacevic to the contest. And South Melbourne again look for a quick counter. Breaks down on this occasion. The pace of this game starting to lift. Budin has done well. South Melbourne looking to spring the trap. Coveny's quick. And it was Michael Valkanis, the last-ditch challenge, who saved the day for United.
Once again, Mike, there's real concerns at the back for Adelaide United. Mind, earlier Vidmar stepping forward very, very early. The ball's being played in behind.
Agius. Kovacevic with a challenge.
Expect them at home to be a lot more solid. Rees at times out of position, allowing Coveny to get in behind him. They start getting people forward earlier. South Melbourne on the counter.
Well, Rees has made the mistake, and will Adelaide United pay once again? Boutsianis looking for Coveny. Great save, Scarsella. And the goalkeeper gets there in the nick of time. Curcija was looking for the crumbs, but again, Adelaide United with errors at the back, making life very difficult for themselves.
They're all over the place. They are all over the place. Boutsianis breaking down the left. And again, it was a lovely little ball dinked inside. Look at the ball that he puts through to Coveny. Beautiful weight on the pass. It was a very, very good save by Scarsella. Too much room again.
Boutsianis brings it down, goes for the early shot. Scarsella does well to get there and save the corner. South Melbourne have worked Adelaide United out, you have to say, and they're making the most of the conditions, the wind behind them. They're playing the early ball in, and Adelaide United at the moment are not meeting the challenge.
That's just mistakes. A missed header, a ball given away in the centre of the park can make all the difference.
Aloisi lines it up, and that will encourage not only the players but the fans. Ross Aloisi with a shot from distance. A real competitor, the former Socceroo. Has loved every minute of his return to Australia after some 5 or 6 seasons in Europe.
There's another good example. We had one last week. Sasha Petrovsky, a player who's plied his trade in Europe's come back and performed well in the NSL. Ross Aloisi is another. Just the type of player we need to attract back for the APL.
And Michael Panopoulos also fits that category, the player who just lost the ball. A long career in Greece, in England as well with Portsmouth, Michael Panopoulos. And after a few problems early in the season, he really has settled into this South Melbourne side. Alagich escapes down the right-hand side. Dangerous ball in, Budin wins it in the air. Chance here for Goulding. What a save from Galekovic. Athletic goalkeeping from the South Melbourne number 1. And he's required again as Adelaide United look to apply the pressure. But the numbers were there in the nick of time for South Melbourne, and Eugene Galekovic with a couple of important interceptions.
Very and good football from Adelaide United. It's all about Richie Alagich. Alagich and Aloisi in the midfield, fashioned it out wide on the right. A magnificent cross in from Alagich. He's given it away again.
There's that
the ball coming in.
Anxious moment for South Melbourne once again. Aaron Goulding on his weaker right foot drew a good save from the goalkeeper. Good effort from the defender in the circumstances.
One of the rare times that we've seen United get forward, get people in the box, committing players forward. The fact that they're 1-0 down now, start to take the foot off the brake, get some people in the box.
I just wonder what's going through the mind of Boutsianis here. Now, this is about 40 metres out from goal, but he's got the wind behind him. You wouldn't put it past him, and he's gone for it as well. Boutsianis, arguably the dead ball specialist of Australian soccer over the last decade or so, and why not?
As you said earlier, be surprised when the game goes on to see them push an extra striker forward. To me, the real concern from Adelaide at the moment is Boutsianis playing the free role. No one is getting hold of him. He has caused problems already. Set up one goal, almost set up a second.
Leah trying to find Murdocca, who goes down. The challenge came from Vidmar. This time the referee blows the whistle. And that is canny play from young Massimo Murdocca, who I would say drew the foul from Vidmar. The sucker punch from the youngster against the veteran.
Yes, just drew him in. The old head. Viddy knew he'd been beaten. Just did enough to draw the foul without getting a card.
So Boutsianis will swing this one away from the goalkeeper. A flat delivery. Coveny was there first. The header wasn't on target, but another warning sign for this Adelaide United defence.
No one home. South Melbourne keep knocking. There's no one home for Adelaide. Coveny gets there first. Two defenders there on one. They're both out of position. One behind Coveny. He has found far too much space in the 6-yard box. They don't get hold of this game at the back, United, they are going to cop another goal.
Is that a keeper's ball in this situation as well? Because you're playing against, you're facing your own way as a defender there. If you touch the ball, you're thinking own goal. Should the keeper come in that situation?
Possible.
And make life a bit easier. Is that one of the problems for Adelaide United?
Yes and no. I think the way it's whipped in, he's got to give himself the option, but it was a superb free kick.
Goulding starting to press forward more often now on that left-hand side. Early ball in. Kemp has done well. Lifts the ball over the top. Galekovic getting off his line. Makes the save. Well, that's better from Aaron Goulding on that left flank for Adelaide United. They do need him pressing forward to lend support. And at the other end, Boutsianis tries to run it down.
It's Boutsianis getting forward that's causing the problems. 3-on-3 going forward. Coveny, Boutsianis, Curcija.
Veart. The early ball into the channel. The race is on between Osman and Budin. Budin has done well to get in front of the defender and win the corner. Thankless task, but that is a superb piece of play from Nicky Budin.
Great work by the young player. Well, that's exactly what's required now. Every player going forward to run down every ball possible. Much pressure on South Melbourne at the back. Trying to turn the table. Haven't really tested them yet. The defence of South Melbourne.
Agius for Rees. Veart whips it back in. And eventually South Melbourne get the ball away. Boutsianis is on his own, but Curcija tries to get forward and lend a hand. Boutsianis, superb play from the veteran.
Lovely play. It's great to see Boutsianis back in form. Whether you're a South Melbourne fan or a neutral, you want to see these players performing. Lovely skill. Alagich, Aloisi, both seasoned professionals. He's gone past the both of them. And no option, Aloisi, but to bring him down. Boutsianis, best player on the park for my money.
Osman.
But on that occasion, it's hit him on the heel.
Unlucky Boutsianis. Alagich looks up, thinks about playing it early and long. Clips it down the line towards Budin. Good layoff. Here's Kemp. Veart. And an awkward bounce for Veart. Now Vidmar. Vidmar coming forward for perhaps the first time in this match. Chased all the way by Coveny. In the end, Coveny resorts to a tug on the shirt. Gets the free kick. And it was taken quickly. And Veart, from some 25, 28 metres, has let South Melbourne know he's around.
Low percentage shot. High excitement if it goes in. Once again, you need your midfielders taking those opportunities. South Melbourne have got to start to step out of defence. Try and stop him having a strike. When you start to be able to play your 1-2s around the box.
Budin, again outnumbered, but again he's doing well. Nick Budin draws the foul.
Thought it was harsh. Again, he's done well.
10 minutes remaining in the first half. Possession just in favour of Adelaide United, but they haven't done as much with it as South Melbourne. That's quite obvious, not just by the scoreboard, but also by the number of times Adelaide United have been under real pressure. Long throw from Alagich. Kemp heard a call. Aloisi, Valkanis stayed forward. Towards Budin by Kemp. That's Panopoulos held his ground.
Right, good defending as well. Little jink over the back of the defence. I think it was Veart who pulled off into the space. Would have been very dangerous. Better signs from Adelaide. Starting to keep the ball.
Vidmar looks up, waits for some movement. Doesn't get a lot of it. Laurie. Murdocca. Osman pressured by Kemp. Pressured into error. Likewise, Veart. And it's Coveny who comes away with the ball. 4 white shirts are forward. One of them is Curcija. And Michael Curcija, that is such a smart piece of play there from Curcija. No one was there in the middle for South Melbourne, unluckily for him, but it was the right option. Taken by Curcija in the circumstances. He's looking sharp, Curcija. That's determined to prove a point after surprisingly being left on the bench going into the finals series. Stewie Munro showing on a number of occasions this season that reputations count for very little in team selection.
Oh, he's hungry. You can see a player, a striker who's had a drought as he gets the first goal and the second last week. Thinks of nothing else. Getting a strike on goal.
Well, Steve Laurie there with a headlock on Ross Aloisi, but for some unknown reason is disputing the decision that's been given. He won't change matters. It's Agius again with the dead ball for Adelaide. A bit too close to the keeper, you would imagine, but Galekovic has spilled it. And somewhat fortunately, South Melbourne get the ball away. First time really that Galekovic has made the mistake.
Another good delivery from Agius. Just hit it around the back post. He's still in the 6-yard box. Expect Galekovic to collect that. It's pretty good pressure though.
And Alagich was late on Panopoulos. And in the foreground, Coveny's also been on the receiving end. It was Matthew Kemp sliding in. And I think it's that ankle again that's causing the problems for Coveny, who is tough as teak. Kiwi international, Vaughan Coveny, and when he goes down, you know he's been hurt. South Melbourne will get the free kick.
Two experienced players exchanging words again. Whether there's something to be said, inevitably Ross Aloisi's right at the heart of it. Why not? His job in the centre of the park.
Well, Vaughan Coveny gets to his feet rather gingerly. And I just wonder what's going through the mind of these Adelaide United players. The script hasn't gone to plan, and this huge gallery, as we mentioned, a full house, around 16,000. We're hoping for a barnstorming start from their team. It hasn't come. It's going to be a war of attrition here at the Hindmarsh Stadium. South Melbourne, a club that is so used to playing in these type of matches. All that experience will come to the fore. And having got the early goal through Michael Curcija, the visitors will, at this point, fancy their chances. Adelaide United will have to dig very deep indeed.
Just got to feel John Cosmina, the United coach, wouldn't be surprised if he's reasonably happy to get in at half-time. At only 1-0 down, Mike, if indeed it is, in a couple of minutes' time. He'll know that they've given up far too many opportunities. With the likes of these three quality players going forward for South Melbourne, he'll be pretty happy they've only conceded one. Pretty sure point number one, talk about this defence.
Aloisi. Shot comes off Kovacevic and it bounces rather fortuitously to Boutsianis. Curcija's held the run, he's onside. It's 1 against 1 on that far side. Vidmar getting across for Adelaide, and Curcija, well, it was the long odds, the option really from Michael Curcija. He could have come closer to goal. He elected for the shot from a tight angle. Couldn't find the target, Michael Curcija. So let off for Adelaide United as we go into stoppage time at the end of this first half. And slicing the shot, Michael Curcija. He'll be disappointed with that effort, but he is a striker in a rich vein of form. 2 goals against Marconi last week, 1 tonight. He's the money man at the moment for South Melbourne. Boutsianis. Kemp. Wins it fairly. Kemp, but dives in on Boutsianis. He's testing the patience of the referee. Boutsianis clutching the shin. And Matthew Kemp, still no yellow card from the top pocket of referee Simon Micallef, but he'll be treading a very fine line at the moment, Matthew Kemp. Repeated infringements from the Adelaide United wing-back. South Melbourne have the free kick. Osman switches it to that far side. Poutakidis is there for South Melbourne. He gets past his man. And there, in fact, is the half-time whistle. So a very encouraging first half of football for South Melbourne, as a bit is said after the ball by Poutakidis, who thought he had the free kick. Referee has signalled for half-time. He's gone across. Poutakidis has had something to say, and Poutakidis, well, on the advice of the assistant in the last moments of this first half, is that the turning point of the game? Sam Poutakidis, the red card for what happened after the whistle. And the South Melbourne players protesting vigorously. What a turnaround. Here is the incident in question. Poutakidis getting past Aaron Goulding, pulled back by his opponent. And it was that kick at Freddie Agius, in fact, right under the nose of the assistant, which has earned Sam Poutakidis a red card. South Melbourne down to 10 men. They have the lead. Plenty, though, of work to do for the visitors. The half-time score here at Hindmarsh Stadium. South Melbourne 1, Adelaide United 0.
Every so often, a new singer comes along that knocks you off your feet. Introducing Joss Stone. Her extraordinary debut album.
And welcome back to the World Game and our special coverage of the Hindmarsh NSL Championship Series. South Melbourne leads Adelaide United 1-0 at half-time in the elimination final from Hindmarsh Stadium, with Michael Curcija scoring for the visitors after 12 minutes. I'm joined by Francis Awaratifi to look back at the first half. Francis, your impressions?
Yeah, look, it's probably opened the way you expect it to, because, I mean, obviously South are going to sit back, absorb pressure and try and hit Adelaide on a break, and that's the way it's transpired. It's good to see that South, probably for the first time this year, have actually allowed Boutsianis a free role in the midfield, and I think that probably I alluded that during the preview, because I feel that in that sort of a role, he does do a lot more damage with his passing, and also he can ghost up anywhere in a pitch, and especially in the attacking half, and maybe score a goal himself. So he's causing so many problems for Adelaide just with his passing and coming from deep.
Indeed. Let's have a look at the highlights then of the first half. Michael Curcija, as I said, got that goal, picking up where he left off last week against Marconi, and he is now, in fact, the top scorer for the club, 1 ahead of Vaughan Coveny. 13 goals for the season now for Michael Curcija, but it was Boutsianis who laid it on for him.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look at the game, really, I mean, a bit of a mistake here from Aurelio Vidmar. I mean, he's out of position to start with, and once he's out of position, there was no one to cover as a last man. Boutsianis showed great pace, and Michael Curcija, he worked really hard to get himself into a position there to finish. And Boutsianis, great awareness, saw where his striker was running. As you can see, he's running straight directly at the keeper, which is what he should do. So he's committing the keeper to the near post, and at the same time, he's very aware of where Michael Curcija is running, plays the ball into the right position, and what a fantastic finish. And that's South Melbourne to a T. They play this sort of a role where Boutsianis kind of cheats. He doesn't quite go back and defend. Every time Adelaide have got the ball, he kind of sits on just outside the attacking half, waiting for the ball to break down. And again here, he creates an opportunity here for Vaughan Coveny, and what a great save by David Scarsella. So, I mean, really in the opening half of the match, South Melbourne just seem to have a lot more of the clearer chances.
What can you say about Adelaide, though? Are they doing things wrong, or is South Melbourne just deservedly ahead at this stage?
I think South Melbourne are deservedly ahead. I think tactically, what South Melbourne are doing, Adelaide is a very wide pitch, and I think if you've got players who have got pace, like Coveny, what you do is you tend to, it's best to spread the ball wide, because what you can do is Adelaide have got a back four, and what you can do is spread their defences wide and thin, and so you create one-on-one opportunities. And I think when South get it at one end of the field, they tend to sort of like to switch it to the other side to create those one-on-one chances. Some
slack marking there at the back from Adelaide, almost allowed Coveny a goal.
Yes, it is a little bit, you know, and this is a really stupid incident. I mean, Poutakidis, I mean, he'd got a free kick, the ball was gone, and to lash out as he did there at Agius was just, well, to me it was just stupid. It really was stupid, and really, and this is a sort of inexperience that that does cost teams in finals.
Did it deserve a red, or was it a yellow card offence?
Look, I mean, I think it deserved a red. He's lashed out at Agius. If you look at it here, OK, it was a foul. There was no doubt about it. The whistle had gone. The linesman had even flagged for the foul. When you look over here, I mean, this was just unnecessary. It really was. There was no need for him to kick Agius. And what he's done there, he's let his team and his teammates down very badly, because these games are tough enough as it is without having to do it a man down.
How does this change the game, though? Because traditionally, we see 10 men usually rally behind each other and really fight when they're a man down. Would you expect that more to be the case, or would you see an Adelaide team probably now taking advantage of this numerical edge?
Look, it could work out that way, but let's face it, most teams would rather have 11 players on the field, and I think with South now, they're going to be going in there thinking that's reduced our chances of winning. So basically, all they're going to be doing is coming out in the second half and just surviving, or that's what they're going to be hoping to do, and maybe hoping that they can snatch one on a break or from a free kick or a corner from set piece. But really, it's going to be a very, very difficult task now for them.
What do you think Adelaide should do with this one man extra now?
Be patient. Don't go tearing forward and everyone wanting to get into the box and score goals. Just keep playing patiently. As I said, Hindmarsh is a very wide pitch, and if you've got a bit of pace there and you've got players who are creative and inventive, you can use that width to your advantage by spreading the play out and spreading the opposition out wide. And if you can do that, you should be able to create chances.
OK, Francis, thanks for the moment, because we're going to go back to Hindmarsh Stadium now, where Craig Foster is with a special guest. Craig?
Thank you, Andrew. I'm here with Basil Scarsella. Be no stranger to anyone in Australian football. Has been integral to the rise and the success of Adelaide United. Basil, this is unbelievable.
Oh, Craig, I guess that's what we've all been talking about for the last 25 years, and I think this has been a combination of a whole lot of group of people that have actually come together to make it work, and I guess that's what we should be aiming for right across the country.
Why have the people of Adelaide and South Australia got behind the club and the team so much?
A simple answer to all of that is unity, and that goes from the state government, the corporates of Adelaide, the state federation here, the local federation, and the public have all come together. I guess they got so bad that everyone had been talking about it, and suddenly we've given them an opportunity. Hopefully we're meeting their expectations, and clearly tonight's a great night for football in Australia.
How confident are you after the success of this year that Adelaide United will play a prominent part in the new APL?
Well, Craig, we're waiting to see what the APL conditions are going to be, but certainly if they're going to have a team from South Australia, we'd expect there's going to be Adelaide United.
John O'Neill talks about a one city, one team. A lot of us feel that that's being modelled now on the success of Adelaide United here on the back of Perth Glory. You must feel proud of that.
No question, and like I said, lots of people deserve the credit for this. Whether a similar model works in the markets of Sydney and Melbourne is for others to determine, not for me to comment on.
John Kosmina, John Perrin, former greats, former South Australians. You've also brought in ex-players as well at all levels through the organisation. Surely that's a model for all the clubs.
Absolutely spot on. I mean, Johnny Kosmina, Johnny Perrin are icons in Australian football. They've come back home, especially for Kosmina, who's been away from some 27 years, and he had no time to put a team together, and he deserves all the credit for the success that the team has had, obviously, together with the players.
How do you build from here? Can you become more successful next year?
I thought you were going to talk about the second half. No question we can become more successful. We've learned a lot of things. We've made some mistakes during the year that we need to fix for next year, but there's no question that we can grow from here.
OK, now you can tell me about the second half.
2-1 the second half, Craig.
Oh, you're against 10 men now, so you've got every chance. Basil Scarsella, great year. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Craig, and thank you to SBS for the support you give Australian football.
Thank you, Andrew. That was Basil Scarsella. Half-time here. Certainly shaping up for a great second half. Back to you.
Thank you, Craig. Yes, a very proud chairman of Adelaide United there, Basil Scarsella, of course, former Soccer Australia chairman and former president of the Oceania Football Confederation. And a great advertisement, Francis, don't you think, for the game in this country and the kind of potential it has?
Yes, look, I mean, we've said it ad nauseum, really, since Adelaide came on board, you know, that they're a great advert for the game. The market, obviously, in Adelaide was dying for something like this, for a team that was going to unite the whole state, something that everyone felt that they had a stake in, unlike Adelaide City. The fans there didn't feel like it belonged to them. I think everyone feels like Adelaide United belongs to them, and that's fantastic, and that's why we're getting the sort of crowds that they've been getting.
And we wait with bated breath, Francis, to see what the Australian Soccer Association has to say. Tomorrow there's an 11 o'clock press conference being called involving the chairman, Frank Laurie, and the chief executive, John O'Neill, to discuss some big news surrounding the new National League as well as the Socceroo program going forward. So, of course, we'll keep you in touch with all the news there on Total World Sports tomorrow night at 7. Now, just before we head back to Adelaide for the start of the second half, here are some details of a black tie gala event coming up next month to raise money for the Sydney Cancer Research Centre. It takes place at the Le Montage Function Centre in Sydney on Friday the 30th of April from 7 p.m. It costs $125 per head, and you can book a seat by either ringing Brian Seymour on that number 0411 542 430, 0411 542 430, or write to PO Box 3237 Wetherill Park, and there it is, 2164, the postcode in New South Wales. OK, let's return now to Hindmarsh Stadium, where South Melbourne leads Adelaide United 1-0. Once again, your commentators are Michael Cockrell and Craig Foster.
Welcome back to Hindmarsh Stadium. The second half about to get underway, but what a contentious end it was to that first half, of course. In the dying seconds, in fact, it might have even been after the whistle had gone, Sam Poutakidis, a straight red card from referee Simon Mikulev. So South Melbourne reduced to 10 men for the second 45 minutes. A couple of the South Melbourne players still having a word to the referee. But the decision will not be changed, so perhaps the pendulum now swinging the way of the home team. South Melbourne looking to protect that lead given to them early in the match by Michael Curcija. Adelaide United now with the one-man advantage, one goal behind, 45 minutes remaining. The sudden death minor semi-final heats up. Craig Foster, a coach killer really, that sending off as far as Stewie Munro's concerned.
Sort of thing can drive you around the bend as a manager. And the player goes and does that after the whistle as well. You're on top. You've had a great half really. Not given too much to Adelaide United at all. Had plenty of opportunities. The pendulum has swung. We saw it last week when Despotovsky got sent off. It will have the same effect. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, it looks as though, in fact, Scott Tunbridge has come on for South Melbourne, the number 25 on this near touchline. So a readjustment made by Stuart Munro. Just casting my eye across the park. It may have been Vaughan Coveny succumbing to that injury, which has forced the change.
I think you're right. See Boutsianis wearing the armband now.
Wait for confirmation of that, but a straight swap for South Melbourne in terms of positions. Tunbridge, an attacking player as well. I just wonder what Stewie Munro will do defensively without Poutakidis. As we see Valkanis there end up the worse off with that challenge involving Tunbridge, and some blood, I think it is, above the right eye of Michael Valkanis, who is no stranger to head injuries, an absolutely fearless campaigner. Might be a shiner for the Adelaide United centre half.
It's crucial now.
Eugene Galekovic has made an awful hash of things, and the goalkeeper at the second attempt clears the danger, but only just. And I just wonder, we talked about it during the first half, this wind, is it going to be a game of two halves? You've seen it plenty of times in football. The wind plays such an important role, and you can see there the South Melbourne goalkeeper struggling with the conditions.
As Scarsella did in the first half. Could be right. Again, it's a wait and see. Certainly looked very uncomfortable. He came out for that ball. It's all over the place. Good opportunity for Adelaide. Only 10 seconds later, going forward, South Melbourne once again had 3-on-2. It's Boutsianis who's pulling out left, getting in behind Alagich. I think it's going to need a fairly big improvement against 10 men from Adelaide United.
Have been pushed inside to a more central midfield role. Goulding against Scott Tunbridge, who of course knows these Adelaide players well, the former Adelaide City player Scott Tunbridge.
Tunbridge taking up position out wide on the right, leaving Curcija as a lone striker now. Panopoulos, Murdocca, Boutsianis, Tunbridge coming from behind. Though they may have gone to a 4-4-1. Very important that Vidmar starts to step forward now into midfield, make the numerical advantage.
And it looks as though Matthew Kemp, in fact, is going to push up in support of Nick Budin, Freddie Agius as well. So Adelaide United trying to get a few more bodies at the sharp end where it counts, and fashion a few more scoring opportunities. Ball has come off Kovacevic. Brought down very well indeed by Budin. He heard a call but couldn't find a teammate. The interception came from Panopoulos. Tunbridge pumps it up over the halfway line. A backs to the wall second half in store for South Melbourne. They will need all the guile and experience of their seasoned campaigners, not only the players on the park, but a couple off the park as well, as Aloisi forces a superb save from Galekovic. It was on target. Plenty of meat behind the shot from Ross Aloisi. Almost get a second bite of the cherry.
It's good work, I think. Budin. Ball came forward. Is it Budin gets a beautiful header for the run. One of the rare times that a midfielder for Adelaide United's got past his striker. Pretty sure John Cosmina would have made that a point at half-time. Against 10 men. Need to get extra bodies forward. Try and make 2-on-1. Just starting to maintain possession, exactly what they need to do. They're also not being impatient, starting to just lob balls in the box. Really, Vidmar far too experienced for that in the centre of the park. Just spreading it wide, starting to get some quality crosses in, starting to try and pull defenders out.
Alagich in acres of room on that far side of the pitch. 10 minutes into the second half, no change to the scoreline, but it's the home team doing all the pressing now. Alagich has Aloisi to his right, comes inside onto his left boot. Richie Alagich. He is one of the sweetest strikers of a football in the country. Richie Alagich, both-footed as well. This one on the left peg. Had the power, but not the direction he was looking for. Got over the ball, but just couldn't get it on target.
Now, once again, it was good work fashioning a shot. Exactly what's needed. You either need to get a 2-on-1 situation, start to get some overlaps, start to play 1-2s off the strikers. Alternatively, you need a little bit of skill and to beat a man. Whichever way you do it, you need to get a man into space.
Aloisi with a switch, looking for Agius. Kovacevic read it well. Alagich again, looking for Veart this time, and again Kovacevic blocking the way for South Melbourne. Murdocca and Vidmar contest a bouncing ball, and it's the second man in, Tunbridge, who concedes the free kick, which Aloisi will take.
Carl Veart's made his way forward as well. Going far further forward. Looks as though he's taking up a striker position, which is great. Exactly what he should do. Puts Veart in there. Former striker, of course. A man who knows where the goal is.
Aloisi, well, it was a last-minute decision. Vidmar came across, played the ball short, said have a go, and Aloisi did just that, but very disappointed with his effort. Ross Aloisi scored 3 goals so far this season for Adelaide United. And Budin and Laurie continue their battle, and Budin and Boutsianis continue an argument. In the meantime, the free kick is played quickly and poorly by Aloisi, who puts it straight over the sideline. Emotions are heating up here at the Hindmarsh Stadium, and that's because there is such a big prize at stake, of course. Preliminary final awaits the winner for the loser. Well, who knows what awaits the loser with such uncertainty surrounding the competition.
Right, certainly South Melbourne look to be up against one, maybe 2 consortiums.
Well, Massimo Murdocca played the pass. Vidmar came across to make the challenge. Murdocca has stayed down as a result. And Murdocca has stayed down, and the referee has shown no inclination at the moment to talk to Aurelio Vidmar.
certainly a little bit obscured on this side from the camera angle, but as though Viddy might have given him a sneaky little elbow on the way through. That's the way Murdocca come across the line of his run, Viddy. Change tack. They need to keep the foot on the pedal, Adelaide United. Keep getting balls in the box, keep trying to fashion something. When this half goes on, South are going to feel so they can get a sucker punch in here. Just going forward, they're capable on the counter-attack. Surprising though, Budin up front. Kemp's not playing striker beside him. He's in midfield. He's pushing forward, yes. And so's Agius, so's Veart. As yet, John Cosmina has not pushed an extra player up front. Surprised. Points to Carl Veart very soon.
Goulding, flicked on by Budin. Now Murdocca, South Melbourne, as Tunbridge is tripped on his way past by Aaron Goulding, and the referee saw that as an accidental collision, and I tend to agree with him. South Melbourne fans have a different view, but that's no surprise, and John Cosmina will now make his first change of the match. And it's an early mark for Fred Agius. And it's Aaron Vesterveld who will come on in midfield for the home team. And the pointing is going on, and it looks as though Carl Veart, Craig Foster, you called it, he's going to go up front for Adelaide United.
I think he has to. That's a point for Stewie Munro for me. Putting Kovacevic out wide on the right. Completely nullified Agius or Agius. Can't agree on his surname, but we can agree he hasn't done a lot in the second half. That Veart going forward, being in the box, so they need deliveries in there. And he is a very good header of the ball.
Alagich has Veart to his right, switches play instead. Here's Kemp. And Matthew Kemp goes down under a fairly strong challenge from Kovacevic, but the referee saw nothing in it. Let's have a look at the replay. Draws the tackle and was certainly clipped.
That's a foul
by Ante Kovacevic. Play continues. Dangerous ball in from Kemp.
Good delivery.
Crucial header from Leah.
And look who's lurking at the back post. Carl Veart. When they've needed him to score important goals, he's been back in the country, Carl Veart. He's come up trumps. You're going to start slinging crosses in, and they need to. He is a man who can time his runs. Very good in the air.
Procedure clears the corner. And onside and in space and in the box is Kemp. Hooks it towards the back post. It just needed a touch from Carl Veart, and surely that would have been the equaliser. But the signs continue to look encouraging for Adelaide United. They're applying the blowtorch to this South Melbourne defence.
Lovely ball inside. I said Veart was good in the air with his head. Looked as though it was a shadow of offside, perhaps. But he'll be disappointed with his effort.
Aloisi.
Remember, Veart is not a midfielder gone forward. He's a former striker, and he does have a very good nose for goal. Disappointed with that effort.
Alagich switches it. Kemp tries to knock it back to Goulding, and Tunbridge and Goulding, another heavy challenge. Kovacevic and Kemp again tangle. This time Adelaide get the decision. The crowd are happy. South Melbourne are furious. But a chance now for the home team from the dead ball. And the feeling out there between these two teams is there for all to see. It's one full-blooded challenge after another. And Craig Foster, you want to get your boots back on, don't you? You're loving it. Give me a bit of this.
We love to see good football as well, and we've seen some. We have seen some, particularly in the first half. It's been a pretty rugged match. Adelaide are a physical side.
Well, 3 in the wall for South Melbourne. Aaron Vesterveld over the ball. Will he go for goal? There's a gap between the goalkeeper and his near post.
Behind Veart at the near post. He's taken up a great position. Scotty Tunbridge on the wrong
South
side.
Melbourne team in the box, and Vesterveld goes for goal, straight down the throat of Galekovic.
The right ball was too high. It's just too high. Carl Veart taking up a great position at the near post. He's found half a yard of space. 2 yards lower on that delivery. Could have got a flick header at the near. They're almost impossible to defend against.
Well, 25 minutes for Adelaide United to pull this match out of the fire. There's time enough. They will not, though, want to concede a second on the counter. Still the goal from Michael Curcija provides the difference. South Melbourne with 1 foot in the door of the preliminary final. Panopoulos. Pass Vesterveld. Murdocca is onside. No flag. Danger for Adelaide. And the ball to the near post cut out there by Vidmar, who appeals for a flag, which never came.
Well, they're livid, the Adelaide defenders.
Now Boutsianis.
Felt Murdocca was offside. Certainly suspicions. You'd think the assistant referee was in position, actually. He looked as though he was lagging a little bit behind play.
Boutsianis will whip this one in towards the goal line. That's exactly what he's done. Scarsella is nowhere. And Curcija adjudged to have handled the ball, but an escape there for Adelaide United. It just needed a touch, and they were in deep, deep trouble.
Scarsella a little bit ordinary at times on the crosses.
Panopoulos, Curcija,
good ball.
Onside, superb ball from Panopoulos. 1 white shirt against 3 red ones. Goes to the legs of Vidmar. The second man in was Rees. He made the challenge.
And he made ground. He did very, very well. That was 1-on-1. Curcija, young and quick, against Aurelio Vidmar. Yes, he's got an old head. Curcija played it well. Put it one side, go the other. And Rees, a lot of credit for making the ground.
Well, most of the noise you can hear at the moment is being made by those South Melbourne fans, providing just the sort of support the players need in these very difficult circumstances.
Great work for Murdocca again. They lose the lead, South Melbourne. It won't be for want of work rate. They are working very hard. Look at Boutsianis make the ground up. You don't want defenders delivering balls from that range. You need to get Aloisi, Alagich on the ball. Kemp. Just drop off that forward line a little bit. Start trying to get some quality into the feet of Carl Veart. Or Budin, so Veart can make his third man run.
Curcija straying into an offside position, and the cavalry is on the way for South Melbourne. Off goes a striker. It's the goal scorer Curcija, and on comes Mehmet Durakovic, the former Socceroo, who has already announced his intention to retire at the end of this season. So it's all about trying to close the back door for South Melbourne now. And if there's one player you want in a situation like this, this is the man. It's tailor-made. Mehmet Durakovic, an absolute legend of the game.
Yes.
A man who has always played with his heart on his sleeve.
And he's won
The
plenty.
tougher it gets,
I remember
the more he likes it.
The famous game, the famous goal for Durakovic against Canada, if I remember correctly, the SFS, quite some years ago now. He's capable of scoring, but he's very sound at the back.
Vidmar. Alagich.
I like it. I think it's a great move by Stewie Munro. He's got fresh legs as well in Tunbridge, a willing worker to go forward.
Goulding. Out comes Galekovic, well protected by Steve Laurie.
Munro, he's not shutting up shop. He hasn't changed formation. He's put a fresh player up front. But he's put experience at the back. Good move. Osman's charges have to find something here. They have to break them down. The sort of delivery from 50 yards there. Galekovic pulled them out of the air all day.
Kemp. That's asking a lot of Alagich, who's done ever so well to keep it in play. Puts it in with his left peg. Veart brings it down, gets past his defender, but can't keep the ball in. Just runs out of room there, Veart. Of course, if this game is level pegged at the end of 90 minutes, we will go into extra time. The golden goal rule will apply. And if we still can't separate these two teams, it could be the dreaded penalty shootout. We need a winner one way or the other. Still Adelaide trailing, still the goal from Michael Curcija, giving South Melbourne the slenderest of advantages. 20 minutes remaining. Time starting to become an issue for the team in red.
Nice.
Aloisi must try the shot. And he's found the target. Adelaide United are back in the game. The season is still alive. And Aloisi has brought the house down.
That is a cracker. What a time to score, Aloisi. First half, he tried and he tried again from long distance. And this occasion, he's in a smasher. Look at to the near post. It's the bounce that's beat the keeper, Galekovic. Disappointing. Thought he should have got a hand to it, and he might have done just that. Maybe he should have pushed it around the post. And Aloisi, he missed a lot in the first half, but he does not give up. And he gets them back in the match. Great goal.
It's all tied up. 20 minutes left. Aloisi with a super strike. Difficult for the keeper. Got his gloves to it. Couldn't keep it out. And what a game we have on our hands. It's going to be a grandstand finish here at the Hindmarsh Stadium. One apiece in the minor semi-final.
With apologies to South Melbourne fans. It's almost fitting, really. A club, a team that was hastily assembled. Last pre-season, these players had no contracts. They had no contracts. This man has played in Europe. He's done it all, Socceroo level. Just when you need him to stand up, he does so. You've got to love it, Mike.
Aloisi certainly loved it. That was etched all over his face. He saved the moment. Veart clipped in by Kemp. It's United now running this game, full of purpose, full of vigour, full of vim. South Melbourne clinging on by the fingertips.
Just when he made the change, Stewie Munro, they've gone behind. Just sometimes if they say, just after you make a substitution is a dangerous time.
Alagich, early ball. Veart has missed it.
Oh!
Kemp, difficult chance, but Veart, how did he miss that?
Goal! I can't believe it. There was one man I'd put my house on in that situation, on this pitch right now, it's Veart. Carlo. Chance number 2.
And this crowd has sprung to life. This is what the finals are all about. Passion, excitement, goals. We've had it all. South Melbourne, let's not forget, fighting the fight. They've been reduced to 10 men for the entire second half. They continue to fight bravely, South Melbourne. The question is, can they keep Adelaide United out?
Well, of course, with 10 men as well.
Alagich again with the early cross in. He's causing the problems. Vesterveld with the volley.
Defender's shot. But with 10 men, you've got to say, if it does go to extra time, there'll be concerns. And that is a very good strike. Near post, yes.
Well, Stuart Munro, and you have to admire his courage. He's gone to the bench for the third and last time with the game hanging in the balance, and he's taken off Boutsianis, the experience of Boutsianis, and brought on the youth and inexperience of Christian Sarkis, player with a huge reputation, but just 17 years of age.
Wow.
So it's a bold move by Stewie Munro.
Wow.
And sometimes bold moves pay off. Christian Sarkis, we should point out, is hugely regarded at South Melbourne as a dead ball player as well. He's learnt from the master all season. We'll have to wait and see though if that's the right move from the South Melbourne coach. In it comes, no it doesn't, from Alagich. Shaped for the cross, decided against it. Might get a second chance.
The pressure on.
He's done well, Alagich, battling away, outnumbered. Aloisi. Well, that is a very, very tough decision by Simon Mikulev. Christian Rees got his body between his opponent and the ball 99.9% of the time. That will be a decision in his favour. Alagich gets it back from Aloisi. Aloisi just bombing the ball into the box now. Adelaide United. Michael Valkanis is in danger of getting hypothermia at the back there because he's standing in the centre circle and there's not a white shirt within 20 metres of him. Aloisi doesn't contest possession so well, Ross Aloisi. That's a good ball. Galekovic is punched. And just wide of the post there from Richie Alagich, who just waited with bated breath. Would it go in? And sadly for Adelaide United and Alagich, fractions wide of the goal.
Look at the ball from Kemp. This boy can cross a ball. He's curled them to date. On that occasion, he's just chopped through the ball.
Have a look at Murdocca here, just watching that one, hoping, praying that it wasn't going to hit the target. He's watched it past the goal. Murdocca. Alagich again. Dives in, showed the studs, and Richie Alagich, perhaps his enthusiasm, his eagerness getting the better of him. Murdocca on the receiving end, a shake of the head from Massimo Murdocca.
Just got away from Alagich there, but he's had a pretty sound match really in the second half. He's really stood up as well. He's been probably for me almost the best performer in this second half for Adelaide United. Everything that's come out to the right, he's kept hold of. He's gone past people, crosses. He's almost scored there 25 seconds ago.
5 minutes remaining, and the crowd has certainly got its money's worth, and what a crowd it's been. As we mentioned, this game sold out within 3 days. No tickets left after Wednesday lunchtime, which is even better considering the motor racing that's on here over the weekend. And they have shown their loyalty, and in fact is an NSL record for the Hindmarsh Stadium. 16,558, not a spare seat in the house. Veart, and that house will come down if somehow in the remaining minutes Adelaide can find the winning goal. Goulding showed too much of the ball to Galekovic. Tunbridge battles well, comes away with the ball.
Free. He's tried to find him. Unlucky.
Aloisi. What a crucial challenge that was from Panopoulos. Galekovic prevents the corner. Well, I've got to throw a little bit of caution to the wind now, Adelaide United. As we mentioned, at the back they're really marking space. There's no white shirts putting the pressure on. Galekovic goes long.
by Budin. Geez, worked hard today. Getting back, scrounging for balls, breaking up play in the midfield of South Melbourne.
Panopoulos. Perhaps a chance for South Melbourne, but the ball's run away from Panopoulos. Tired legs, you would suggest. No wonder. Goulding into the feet of Budin. Tries to lay it off to Aloisi.
Right idea.
Vesterveld. Well, he just waited there, Aaron Vesterveld. And here's a chance for Tunbridge. Scarsella, though, cleans up for Adelaide United. The goalkeeper coming well outside his area.
He's off his line quickly. Ball just weighted a little bit too heavily. It's always a concern, though, when you're trying to chase a game like Adelaide, or trying to win it. You nip it at the end. Just leave yourself at the back. I think they're solid. John Cosmina won't mind going to extra time.
Leah. Budin can't keep that one under control. A few balls he hasn't held. Nick Budin, Aloisi, switch, Goulding, should square it. And Carl Veart, well, did the cross come too early or did the run come too late? Either way, the chance goes begging.
Might have been a little bit of each. I must admit, I expected Carlo to be there. It looks as though he's coming off Veart. Starts to make his way to the sideline.
Well, Carl Veart, with what would have been his last contribution, might have scored the winner, but the ball eluded him. And with just 1 minute of regulation time remaining, Michael Brooks, a vastly experienced campaigner who was pulled out of the local league by John Cosmina midway through the season, has scored a couple of crucial goals since. He gets the chance to put his name in the headlines. Do that if he can find the winning goal before we go into extra time. A long throw from Alagich. Flicked on. Murdocca appeals for handball.
Nicolet's hands go up, says play on.
And a chance for South Melbourne. They have the numbers suddenly. Tunbridge, two to his left. One is Murdocca.
Good work. Vinny got back.
Well, he got out of it. Just Aurelio Vidmar. We're into time added on. 3 minutes, according to the fourth official, of extra time will be played.
Yeah, he got out of jail as well, Viddy. Did so well to get back. He's almost got himself into trouble in the box. Good break on. There's Murdocca making his way forward. Probably a little bit tired. Where you want Sarkis making his way forward. Another late challenge, Brooks. Well, I guess when you play under John Cosmina, it's one thing that he does expect, that he's a highly committed side. They certainly have been that.
Michael Brooks' first contribution is a late challenge on Levin Osman. South Melbourne with the free kick to be taken by Galekovic. Flips it towards Tunbridge.
Now we talked about the bold coaching decision of Stewie Munro to take Boutsianis off. I think it's equally as bold to take off Carl Veart. Yes, he's missed some chances. The point is he's getting there because he sees the space, he sees the runs. He's just a little bit tired though. Just that last opportunity, normally he'd get to the back post. A little bit off the pace. I'll tell you what, he did not look a happy man when he came off.
Sarkis. Well, he was just caught flat-footed there, Scott Tunbridge. It was a good ball in as well. And the crowd saying to the Adelaide goalkeeper David Scarsella just get it up the other end of the park. A nudge by Brooks, that's the verdict of the referee.
Nice luxury to have though for Kosmina to bring on fresh legs up front. Very nice luxury, just heading into extra time.
Well, South Melbourne are certainly in no hurry. They'll be looking for the breather. They'll get it full time to try and recharge and regroup. Throw to Adelaide in their corner. Tunbridge trying to slow the game down. There's only seconds remaining now. A look at the watch from Simon Mikulev. The last throw here for Adelaide United to win this game in regulation time. Aloisi, can he do it twice? Blocked by Galekovic. Alagich, and there is the whistle from Simon Mikulev. So we're going to go into sudden death extra time. The golden goal will apply. These two teams could not be separated in regulation time. It's an epic here at the Hindmarsh Stadium. The crowd, who've come in such massive numbers, are on the edge of their seats. This game has lived up to everything you could expect. The full-time score, Adelaide United 1, South Melbourne 1. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, so 1-1 after 90 minutes of regulation time, and now the soon-to-be abolished golden goal rule applies in extra time, meaning the first team to score wins the match. I'm rejoined by Francis Awaratifi, and Francis, now it's a battle of nerves, you'd expect.
Yes, it is. I mean, obviously now, it's a question of South Melbourne have done exactly what they've gone out to do in the second half, which is to survive the 90 minutes, don't concede a goal, and hopefully hope that they can snatch something either during extra time or during a penalty shootout. But I must add, though, that I feel that Adelaide haven't played with much imagination, and in terms of tactical nous as well, I think that South Melbourne have outmanoeuvred them throughout the match, not only in the first half but in the second half with the way they've played. Adelaide really should have been keeping the ball, playing possession, running the legs off the South Melbourne players, and then looking to create the opportunities, which they haven't done up until about later in the game. So I think that, really, tactically, it's not been a really good, a well thought out game in that sense.
What can you expect, though, from South Melbourne now? Because we've seen two of their creative players come off in Boutsianis and Curcija. Obviously, Stuart Munro wants to close this game and maybe even take it to penalty kicks. Yeah,
look, all you've got to do now is just survive. You just literally have to fight to survive and not concede a goal until it goes to penalty kicks, because let's face it, that's their best opportunity, because once it goes into a penalty kick, it literally almost is a flip of a coin who's going to win. So I think that's what they'll be trying to do.
Well, Adelaide United, of course, had to get back into this one. They were down 1-0 at half-time after Curcija had scored in the 12th minute. But then it was Aloisi who was leading by example in the middle of the park. He cuts in. And I don't think the Olyroos goalkeeper and South Melbourne custodian, Eugene Galekovic, will want to see this one anytime soon again, Francis.
No, look, Eugene will be very disappointed with that. Although it did take an awkward bounce in front of him, it was a bobble. I still felt that it was a bit of a regulation save and he could have accounted for it. But look, he was a bit unlucky. Having said that, Aloisi has been an absolute colossus in the midfield for Adelaide. He's fought, scrapped and fought for every single ball. And that's just rewards for all his efforts, really. It's just been disappointing for me the way that Adelaide have played, because really they need to stretch their play out wide, because their spaces are there if only they're patient enough to use the spare player that's there, but they're not doing that. And also they were a little bit late in pushing Veart forward, I felt, because really coming out into the second half, there's no point in having one striker up front when South Melbourne have got all those players at the back who are just going to sit there. So you needed to push players onto them and to make those extra defenders accountable for a player, which means pushing up to another extra two players up there and stretching them wide.
That lack of patience and that so-called inability to go wide, as you've been talking about with Adelaide, would you say that's more about the instructions that are now coming from, say, John Kosmina tactically, or is it the decision-making in the heat of the moment? It's such a big occasion that the players are failing to perhaps take the right options?
It's a bit of both, and I think you've got to have players in the team, senior players, who should be able to boss the game. But having said that, the instructions should be coming from the coach saying, look, they're down to 10 men, we've got 45 minutes, if we're patient enough, if we knock the ball around, if we keep the ball off them, if we deny them possession, we will get a goal, because the spaces will open up. Because if they keep running and chasing chasing. It's very hard to keep chasing for 45 minutes trying to win the ball, to play without the ball. So if you can make them do that, eventually the spaces will open up and you will score goals.
And what can South Melbourne coach Stuart Munro now say to his players? Because it's very clear what they need to do. They're just looking to survive, as you said earlier. But is there any other way they can play this smartly to try and survive?
Look, he'll be saying, stay there. I mean, keep doing what you're doing. He'll be saying to Scott Tunbridge, stay on the shoulders of the last defender, because everything that comes now, we're just going to be whacking it up and you'll have to chase it and you'll have to make something out of it. So with Scott Tunbridge, he really needs to be sitting on the shoulders of the last defender and making sure that any clearances that come his way, that he chases it and makes something out of it if he can.
OK, thank you, Francis. We'll see you again at full time because extra time beckons. So let's go back to the action now with your commentators Michael Cockrell and Craig Foster.
Welcome back to the unfolding drama of the Hindmarsh Stadium. The players exhausted by 93 minutes of intense combat somehow have to dig even deeper to find the petrol, the energy, the motivation, the desire to decide this minor semi-final. 15 minutes of added time will be played in each half, and then it's a penalty shootout unless we get the golden goal. One moment can decide the outcome. Adelaide United have the advantage of the extra man. South Melbourne will be fatigued mentally and physically. Can they do it? Craig Foster.
I wouldn't put it past them. They are a stern side. Experienced guys like Galekovic, Kovacevic. They are seasoned performers. They'll know what's required from here. Man down, well, that's tough. Very tough when you're starting to tire.
Osman does well to get to the byline. This is cross blocked by Aaron Goulding. It's almost like a new game, isn't it? South Melbourne just needed to hang on. And then they will probably look for set-piece opportunities like this. It only takes a moment, a lapse in concentration. Here comes from Sarkis. Two white shirts going for the ball, cleared by Vidmar. Murdocca tries to hook it back into the box. And away comes
Good work, Panopoulos.
Panopoulos read the danger. Tunbridge trying to hold his run to stay on its side. Ball couldn't find its way through, cut out by Goulding. Too much on the pass towards Matthew Kemp.
Also changes the dynamics, what teams are willing to do, let alone what they're capable of in extra time when it's golden goal. Sure, you want to score, try and win the match. You want to leave yourself exposed at the back. Chance it can be all over for 93 minutes of hard work. Almost expect Adelaide to leave an extra man at the back in the extra time.
Well, it looks as though Stuart Munro is going for the jugular because Massimo Murdocca and Christian Sarkis are taking up much more advanced position than they were in that second half. I might have said to his players, let's decide this early rather than late. You can see the white shirts already over the halfway line. Aloisi just caught there as he played the pass. So a free kick to Adelaide United, who haven't changed their shape.
I think they did pretty well in the second half to try and break down 10 men. What was a very deep 10 men from South Melbourne. They made a pretty good fist of breaking them down. Played some good football.
And he does have one other advantage, John Kosmina, over his counterpart, and that is another substitute available. Stuart Munro has exhausted his bench. John Kosmina has Shane Thompson and Adriano Pellegrino still on offer if he wants them.
I think with Michael Brooks, fresh legs up front, so I don't think he'll be committing too many men forward. He'll feel that he's got the pressure of the attacks. Why do you want to commit too many men? Give him a chance. Brooks, he hasn't got in the game yet, so he had a couple of touches. Give him 5 or 10, see what he's capable of against a tiring defence. Before you start, push men forward.
Here is Brooks drawing the foul. The challenge from the side and slightly from behind was from Michael Panopoulos. Dead ball situation for Adelaide United.
Aloisi licks his lips.
Vesterveld is there as well. Conference going on between the two midfield players for Adelaide United. 4 in the wall for South Melbourne. Galekovic is trying to protect his near post. Setting up the wall. Vesterveld tries to bend it. Overhitting the delivery, Aaron Vesterveld. Michael Valkanis was the target at the back post.
Good opportunity gone begging. There's extra time. Those opportunities against tiring defenders. Goalkeeper maybe just can lose concentration as well. Delivery has to be better.
Murdocca and Vidmar.
Great work, Budin.
And Vidmar has sensed the threat that Massimo Murdocca provides with those runs from midfield, and he's getting across a lot quicker to close him down. Perhaps guilty earlier in the game of giving too much space. Vidmar a lot tighter in this last half or so of this match.
Yes, he has been. I think that red card really changed dimensions of the match totally. Me, South Melbourne were creating far too many opportunities. The Adelaide defence were all over the shop in the first half. Once they're against 10 men in the second, it was a different game completely. Again, the coach will probably ask questions about that red card. Was it the right decision? Was it the right decision by his player to put himself in that situation?
Superb switch from Alagich. And Aaron Goulding trying to play the 1-2 with Matthew Kemp. It made it difficult for his teammate there. Pass just a little bit quick as it came in. Tunbridge heading towards the corner and goes for goal. And he saw Scarsella just slightly off his line there, Scott Tunbridge. It would have been a miracle goal, but miracles do happen.
I think he saw blood. It was the blood that was rushing to his head. Quite what he was thinking of. But Sarkis, for me, has got to get himself more central. Since he's come on, he's set out wide on the left. He's had no involvement in this game at all. He's on a side that's got 10 men. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to achieve. He's only a young player, mind. Don't expect old head on young shoulders, but someone's got to push him central. It's exactly the situation he wants to be helping Tunbridge out.
Sarkis now. Rees this time gets the decision, but he didn't get towards the end of regulation time, putting his body between his opponent and the ball. Sarkis on screen there, a young man with a healthy reputation, graduate of the VIS, Australian under-17 international, his first season at this level.
He was right on that occasion from Sarkis. Had the foul not been drawn. I think Murdocca all had run through. Sarkis continued his run. It was 2-on-1 once again.
Murdocca there, cleaned up by Aurelio Vidmar. Those two have been tangling all night. And his knees and arms from Aurelio Vidmar, maybe catching his opponent awkwardly.
Hard Murdocca. He's a good little player. Good skill on the ball. The last two occasions we've seen him on SBS showed a heart. Belies the size of the young man.
He'll certainly feel all these bumps and bruises in the morning, there's no doubt about that. Galekovic. One in the air by by Laurie. Sakis. Leah. Well read by Brooks. Chance here for Adelaide United. Michael Brooks into the box. Goes past Galekovic. Tries to square it. Well, how many strikers would have gone down under that challenge? Michael Brooks kept his feet. Alagich with a shot. And it almost caught Galekovic unawares.
There is a couple of bumps there in the centre of that goal.
And there's some honesty left in this game as well.
Yes,
Michael Brooks past Galekovic.
Beautifully.
Slight contact, but we've seen it happen.
Foul's been given against United. Lovely run by Brooks. As you correctly mentioned, he read the play so well. Went past a defender like he wasn't there. That's no mean feat. Remember Galekovic. Just the final ball was lacking. Tried to go low, needed a little dink. It was Kemp who was alone at the far post.
Remember Galekovic has put the ball down. And Panopoulos with a shot. Well wide there for Michael Panopoulos. 10 minutes of this first period of extra time have been played.
That would have warmed the heart of John Kosmina. He hasn't pushed anyone up alongside Brooks. In fact, Budin is sitting slightly behind. Galekovic made the wrong decision. He had to make a challenge at some point, but when he came in, Brooks sucked him in and did beautifully to go around him. Final ball,
down?
poor. If it gone down, you'd almost have to give it credit to him that he did it.
Kemp. Galekovic closes him down. Aloisi. High cross from Ross Aloisi. Murdocca still battling away. Lovely skills from Murdocca. He's put Galekovic under pressure though. Aloisi again. Brings it under the left foot. Switches it. Still with Adelaide United. Goulding. 5 red shirts in the middle. And Aloisi. Well, the wrong option from Aaron Goulding. It's easy to say. It's late in the game. He's tired. But he had 3 players hanging around the penalty spot there. And he's gone for the hardest option.
Yes, I think he's just looked up. Tired mentally. He saw the red shirts. He just tried to dink it in the centre of the box. He's overhit it. So often happens when the legs are tired. Feel like lead at this point in the game. Again, Brooks with fresh legs might make the difference for Adelaide.
Tunbridge wins it in the air. Aloisi. Budin. Brooks. Turns. Sees a man outside. How much time has Goulding got? He had more time, Aaron Goulding. And the referee has pointed to the spot.
He's given it.
Michael Brooks.
Well.
Simon Mikulev, what a big call that is.
That is massive. That is massive.
And the card has come out for the protest, perhaps Kovacevic.
That is
Michael
massive.
Brooks claiming he had his shirt pulled as the ball came in and the referee agreeing with him.
There's already a foul.
The ball played out to Aaron Goulding. Budin has gone down in the foreground. We'll have a look at it. The ball has come in. And Michael Brooks saying it was Steve Laurie. I think it was. And he pulled his shirt. Correct call. Big call.
Simon Mikulev.
The right call.
Superb, my son. Superb. One thing you hate about referees is when there's a big call to make, they don't have the gumption to make it in pressure situations. He's made it. Simon Mikulev, you've had a great game, son.
And the chance now falls to... Is it going to be Michael Brooks who's going to accept this enormous burden? Or is it going to be Ross Aloisi?
Kovacevic,
or is it going to be Richie Alagich?
He'll get himself sent off.
Well, Kovacevic maintains his protest.
Someone will be sent off. They're not happy, but if you didn't see it, you don't like the call. In fairness, we needed a replay. We needed it to see the pull. But Simon Mikulev, refereeing, Mike, is about positioning and gumption, if I can use that word. And he has positioned himself perfectly, and he's made the tough call. And now,
And it's
this
Richie
is
Alagich.
pressure. This is
Richie
pressure.
Alagich, 16,000 people want this one to hit the net.
And as you said, he can strike a ball.
He can hit it sweetly. Alagich against Galekovic, and he's buried it. Adelaide United are into the preliminary final. The fairy tale continues.
That is sensational. What a game. What a finish. NSL football is alive and well. Richie Alagich, the man who got a plaque before the match for great service to South Australian football, has just gone one better, Mike Cockrell, and everyone's off the bench, and 16,500 people go up in unison.
What a moment for this fledgling club. It's their first season at this level, and they are now just 90 minutes away from the grand final. Kovacevic and the South Melbourne players are desperately unhappy. They've been desperately courageous. Simon Micallef has made two huge calls in this game. Neither have gone the way of South Melbourne, but in the end, we have to say he's made the right ones.
I didn't see enough of the first.
With a penalty. What a penalty in those circumstances.
Fantastic. He was never going to place that ball. He is one of the best strikers, as you correctly pointed out. Mike Cockrell, he smashed it. And that's exactly what you want from a player in that situation. He doesn't want to be trying to place it. He doesn't want to be trying to be cute when the pressure's on. Strike through the ball, son. Richie Alagich. I love it. I love when the senior players, the guys who are paid the money, the guys who have the experience stand up. Two guys have done it. Aloisi has stood up and got them back in the match. This guy, Richie Alagich, has won it. I'd still like to see the red card on the South Melbourne player again.
Well, that call came at the end of the first half, the red card, and the big call came at the end of the first half of extra time. But this time it was sudden death. It was the goldenest of golden goals for Richie Alagich. All smiles among those Adelaide United players. Delight on the terraces. And let's have a quick word. South Melbourne, guts effort in the circumstances. They can be proud of their performance. The full-time score here. What a game at the Hindmarsh Stadium. Adelaide United 2, South Melbourne 1.
Yes, high drama at Hindmarsh Stadium, and thank you very much indeed to our very excited commentary duo of Michael Cockrell and Craig Foster. So Adelaide United, with that dramatic come from behind extra time victory, goes on to meet Perth Glory in next weekend's preliminary final, which you can see right here on SBS, for the right to meet Parramatta Power in the grand final on Sunday, April 4. The big question now is where the championship decider will be played. We'll have more on that saga in a moment, but Francis Awaratifi rejoins me. Francis, what a finish to that game, and Simon Micallef, the referee, really came up with a big decision there at the end.
Yes, you couldn't have scripted a more controversial or dramatic finish to the game. And look, I mean, it took a brave referee to give that decision. I mean, I couldn't really tell whether it was shirt pulling or not, but if it was, then look, it was a fantastic decision. And look, I mean, I felt desperately sorry for South Melbourne on the day. I thought that they played brilliantly. They really played. They battled their hearts out. They fought tactically. I think they outthought Adelaide United. And to be honest, on this performance, whilst I'm obviously the Adelaide supporters and players are jubilant at the fact that they're through, I would say that they really need to have a good look at the way they played, because I think that if they go into this game, the next game against Perth Glory, in this sort with this sort of a performance, I think they're going to get battered.
Well, they've gone into extra time, of course, into this one, so they'll need to regroup and prepare themselves for that big one next weekend. Let's first of all have a look at the goal which decided it and the incident, of course, which led to the penalty. And now we can have a good look to see whether, in fact, Steve Laurie did pull the shirt of Michael Brooks. Of course, Simon Micallef thought he did. Francis, you've got another chance to look at it now. I guess the referee in the heat of the moment doesn't have the benefit of replays, and he's called it. He was very brave, as you said, but we can look at it now, and the South Melbourne players obviously were very, very upset.
Oh, look, I mean, I think if you look at it in terms of the whole game, in terms of the match, I mean, this sort of stuff goes on all the time, where players get held all the time. But I think in the context of this where the game was. Yeah, I mean,
there you go. You can
there
see
you go.
it.
The shirt was pulled.
Stretching.
Yeah, look, and if you do it, then you've got to be prepared. I mean, they say do the crime, So obviously, if he takes a risk in the penalty box, then he's got to expect that he's going to give away a penalty. Right. So, look, as I said, I feel desperately sorry for South Melbourne because I thought that they battled their hearts out with 10 men, and really, they were desperately unlucky at the end of the day. I thought Adelaide, in the end. The fact that they had a numerical advantage is probably what got them through in the end, really. Not so much that they played great football to get through.
Well, Richie Alagich didn't waste anything there, did he? He really stepped up and didn't think too much about it. He had one thought in his mind, and that was to hit it probably as hard as he could. Yes,
look, I mean, under that sort of pressure, to step up to take a penalty under that sort of a pressure, it takes a lot of nerves of steel, if you like. And I think Richard Alagich showed a lot of coolness under pressure. And congratulations to him, by the way, because last year, South Melbourne, I think it was last year, they actually let him go. He played for South Melbourne, I think last season, or maybe the season before, and they actually let him go and didn't play too many games there. So, no, sorry, it was the year before because he actually played at Brisbane. So it was great to actually see him come back and score a winner against his old club. So I'm sure that he'll be savouring that moment for a long, long time. Well, like last week with Marconi, gone now is the last remaining founding member of the National Soccer League. After 27 years of service, South Melbourne is now eliminated. Adelaide goes on. Just a quick word about that match, Adelaide meeting Perth. I mean, what do you think really will be the keys to that one? Oh, look, I think that Perth are obviously, they've been obviously hammered by Parramatta over 2 legs. I think they need to go back and rethink and look at the things that made them successful. But I think, it's a different kettle of fish altogether, Adelaide. I just think that they need to play with a lot more imagination, a lot more intelligence during the game against Perth Glory. And I think that if they're going to get past Perth, they're going to have to use their brains. Otherwise, I can't see them. I think they'll get battered. OK, thanks for the moment, Francis. So let's hear what some of the players had to say. Craig Foster was out there at Hindmarsh Stadium and spoke to Adelaide United's Ross Aloisi and South Melbourne veteran Mehmet Durakovic.
Thanks, Andrew. What an epic finish to a huge game of football. 2 guys with me. One of them is former Socceroo and a legend of NSL, Mehmet Durakovic. Mehmet, your last game in Australian football?
Yeah, what a way to end the Fozzie. I mean, the boys battled hard, man down. What can I say? To give the game away in a penalty, it's a bit on a sad note, but, thanks very much to everybody, and the boys thoroughly played well.
I guess you would obviously like to make the grand final. It was a pretty solid performance, though, with 10 men against an Adelaide side with 16,500 people cheering him on.
It was, Fozzie. I mean, a man down. I mean, we're always up against it, and the boys really fought well, and unfortunately the penalty, what can we do? That's a part of soccer, I suppose.
One of your players got red carded. It looked as though it was after the 45 minutes of the first half. Did you see it, and what do your players make of it?
I didn't see it, Fozzie. I was on the bench, but it was too far away for me to see it. But I thought that they said that Sammy had kicked him, but, that's the way it goes, I suppose.
We saw the same thing last week with Perth Glory. Once they got a man sent off, the game changed. Really felt that the momentum went back to Adelaide United. First half, you guys had a great 45.
First half, we absolutely played well, I mean, we were all over the park, and what can you do? A man down, and then, they're playing at home, their home crowd, magnificent, and we're always up against it.
Well, you've gone out the same way you've spent your whole career, and that is with fighting spirit. Well done, Mehmet Durakovic.
Thanks, Fozzie. Thank you very much.
Another player, Andrew, is with me as one of the stars of the match, and a man who brought Adelaide United back into the tie, and that is Ross Aloisi. Ross, what a strike.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's unbelievable playing here at home in front of our crowds, and I wanted to dedicate that goal to my little boy Christian, who's sick at home. He couldn't make him. My wife had to stay home with him, and I dedicate the goal to both of them.
I came down today. I've heard about the Adelaide United phenomenon. This city and this state has been behind you guys all year. What does it feel like to pull that result out from 1-0 down?
It's unbelievable. Playing at home, anything can happen. Lost for words, mate. I mean, you saw yourself. The whole of Australia's seen what Adelaide, what we get week in, week out here. So it's just unbelievable.
After the South Melbourne player got a red card, momentum really swung to you guys. And I thought in the second 45, you played it very well. You kept the ball on the ground. You tried to create opportunities. You did so. And Carl Veart missed a couple there that could have won it for you.
Yeah, look, I mean, unfortunately, their player did a stupid thing and got himself sent off, and all credit to South Melbourne. Look, they're a great side. They've been there all year. They've got a great coach and assistant coach, and a lot of great players there, and all credit to them. It's going to be sad. We don't know what the future holds for them and Marconi, so I mean, it's sad to see these two clubs go, but playing against these guys, it wasn't easy, and like you said, the guy got sent off and the game swung our way.
You took it in the end. Mammoth performance. Crowd behind you. How far can you go?
We don't know. You know what final series are like. Anything can happen, so we hope for the best.
Good luck from here. Great match and well done.
Thank you.
Andrew, what a performance by Adelaide United. What a match. Went down to the wire. Golden goal. It was a great penalty by another good campaigner, Richie Alagich. Great night down here in Adelaide. It is a fairy tale and it continues for Adelaide United. Andrew.
Thank you, Craig. And on that note, we'll wrap up our coverage there of the elimination finals. So, of course, Adelaide United goes through to meet Perth. And Perth, incidentally, last night was also in action in the second leg of their major semi-final against Parramatta Power. Of course, the Glory trailing 4-2 from the first leg. They turned out at Members Equity Stadium. Here are the highlights, and it turned out to be a 2-0 victory for Parramatta. So, a great psychological edge going into the finals in case they meet Perth again, and it was Ahmed Elric after 15 minutes who put Parramatta ahead, and the pass was from Petrovski. Petrovski incidentally came in for the injured Fernando Rek, who was rested on the bench despite a facial injury, and also Travis Dodd, who was later nominated by the Parramatta coach Nick Theodorakopoulos as the man of the match. He also started, meaning Lucas Pantelis went to the bench. As for Perth, well, no Bobby Despotovski. He was sent off, you may recall, last week, and Nick Merger took his place in attack alongside Damien Morey, but nothing to do for Perth on this occasion. They've been wonderful at home and they've taken a lot of pride about the crowds they attract and the results they've gained at home, but it was truly a clinical performance. I've spoken to a lot of the players and coaching staff of Parramatta this morning and they were ecstatic with this result, Francis, and you can understand why.
Yes, look, I mean, this is a great result for Parramatta. I think they've basically, really, they've won both matches emphatically, really, when you look at the results.
Just let me interrupt there for a moment, because this was a moment of controversy in this game because a disallowed goal, and it took some time, some deliberating after the Parramatta players protested, and then it seems the officials reversed their decision. So perhaps things might have been different, but that's football for you, and Damien Morey there with a glancing header going wide, so it was a difficult game in the end for Perth.
Yes, I mean, it was always going to be a difficult game because I think going into this game, I always had a feeling that Parramatta were always going to be capable of scoring at least a goal or two in Perth, and if they were going to score a goal, I felt that really the task was just going to be a bit insurmountable for Glory in terms of the number of goals that they needed to win the game.
Well, they knew what they had to do because a 2-0 victory would have seen Perth go through to the grand final. And they went there with a very clear objective in mind, but they just couldn't produce. And this is Ante Milicic, who enjoyed his time. I spoke to him as well this morning up front. He really enjoyed his time trying to torment the Perth defenders, and he's really looking forward to perhaps a rematch. And there we go. This was a sending off in the end, so things going wrong for Perth today. 84th minute, Bradley Hassel receives his marching orders from referee Matthew Breeze. So this is one that Perth will want to put in the back of their minds and get on with playing Adelaide next week. I mean, how would you expect them to bounce back for this one?
Yeah, look, I mean, it just amazes me how players of that experience will go out. I mean, Brad Hassel, that's very unlike him. I mean, I've known the guy for a lot of years. He's one of the coolest and most even-tempered guys I've ever seen. So to see him react the way he did there was very much out of character. And the thing is, he's a good player. He's a key player for the Glory. So again, they're going into a game next week, a sudden death game, without a key player. And that's a shame because really they're going to have to find someone else to replace him. And they're not making their jobs easy on themselves. Indeed,
Mish Davray, the Perth coach, he must be very disappointed because not only had he lost Brad Hassel, but going into it, another one of his experienced players, Bobby Despotovski, was sent off ahead of the return leg. Is a problem, do you think? I mean, in terms of discipline in the camp there?
Not really. I think it's just frustration. You know, I think that when your things are going really well, yeah, it's fine. Discipline's not a problem. But I think when things start to go wrong for teams, especially really good teams, and if you've been a really good player, and Perth are going through a frustrating moment at the moment, they're going through a frustrating time at the moment. That yeah, sometimes a frustration can get the better of you. But a player of Brad's experience should know better, and he should really just sort of try and take it in his stride. I think the problem with Glory is that they don't have the flexibility that Parramatta have in terms of throwing players around, and I know that they made some changes playing Brad Hassel in the middle, moving Gary Farry out wide, but you know they haven't done that this year, and the thing is that they've played the same way for most of the year and all of a sudden find they have to make a change and they're not prepared for it.
OK, Francis, let me move on for a moment onto another issue because, as I said earlier, the question now is where will they play the grand final? Well, officially, even though Parramatta has won the right to host the grand final in Sydney by virtue of winning that major semi-final, and that's in the rules, Parramatta decided to forfeit the right. That was the Chief Executive, Dennis Fitzgerald, saying this week that Perth could have the grand final. That is, of course, in the event of Perth meeting Parramatta in the grand final because they're looking to reap the financial benefits of over 40,000 people expected at Subiaco Oval should the grand final be played in Perth. Soccer Australia has said at the moment that it is scheduled for Perth. That was official as of last Thursday, but I spoke to the Perth Glory owner Nick Tana this morning, who was sitting next to the Parramatta chairman Peter Overton, who apparently called Dennis Fitzgerald during the match and said he now wants the grand final in Sydney. There is a meeting of the Parramatta board scheduled for 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. And I spoke to also the Power General Manager Angela Travis, and when discussing this issue, because emotions are running very high in the camp, especially amongst the players and coaching staff at the moment, she wouldn't rule out anything, including the drastic step, perhaps, of strike action. So we wait to see what happens tomorrow, but it really would be ridiculous, don't you think, Francis? They've won the right, and you can understand the players want to play in Sydney at a ground where they've been virtually unstoppable this season.
Yes, look, I think this really does show us firsthand why the Parramatta Power experiment hasn't worked. When you have a chief executive who has no respect for his players and for the sport, who is already saying to them, look, if you make the grand final, you're going to go and play interstate. I mean, that is just ridiculous. I mean, to be honest, if that is the calibre of administrator that we've got in this game, then good riddance to Dennis Fitzgerald and the rest of the Parramatta guys if they're not going to be in the league next year, because you need people who are going to be paying the game the respect it deserves and that will respect the players. Those guys have worked their butts off this year to make sure that they're going to be in a position to be in a grand final, and now that they are there, that incentive for getting to the grand final has been taken away. It really does baffle me where people come up with these decisions. Well, I'm sure that Parramatta, the Eels, if the positions were reversed with the Parramatta Eels rugby league team, I'm sure Dennis Fitzgerald wouldn't be saying go play the grand final in Brisbane if they were playing the Brisbane Broncos. I'm sure, Francis, but I think we may even see a backflip this week. But Francis, we have to leave it there. We've run out of time, so thank you again this week. We'll see you next week for the match between Perth and Adelaide. Pleasure. Thank you. OK, and you will have your say as well on that issue. But first, a reminder that next Sunday afternoon from 3:30 right across the country, you can see SBS's coverage of the preliminary final between the Glory and Adelaide United from Subiaco Oval in Perth, with the winner to take on the Parramatta Power in a fortnight's time. And now to the NSL poll question we ran last week. We asked, should a New Zealand franchise be part of the new domestic league, or the Australian Premier League, if that's what it's going to be called? And it was a close one, but the voters were slightly in favour of no. This week we're asking you to comment on the decision made by the Parramatta officials to give Perth home ground advantage in the grand final, and you have several choices there, so please do go to our website, lodge your vote, and I will have the result next week. Time now for the final result of the SMS poll we've been running today. We asked if you agreed with FIFA closing a loophole that allows players to switch nationalities in order to play international football by declaring those with no clear connection to any one country will be ineligible. And it was a pretty resounding yes in the end, 82% against 18% for no. And once again, thank you to all of you out there who voted, and a reminder that the winner of the prize pack will be announced after the break in Toyota World Sports. Well, from one great prize to another, and for the last time today, here are the details of how you can win a trip to the UK for a football tour of a lifetime.
SBS Television's weekly soccer-saturated program, The World Game, along with Emirates Airlines and Premium Sport Tours, are giving viewers the chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime football trip for two to England and Wales. Simply tune into The World Game every Sunday from noon for full competition details and how to enter. Watch carefully for the weekly word to come across your screen during the show, and then SMS or call SBS with the word and your details. SMS your weekly word on 188 7551 or call 1900 969 551. Every week, SBS gives you another word and another chance to fly off to see some of the world's best football. One lucky winner will win a Premium Sport Tours holiday for two people to England and Wales. Hosted by SBS football analyst, former Socceroo captain and football legend Johnny Warren, This tour gives football fans a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Flying with Emirates Airlines, winners will firstly watch an English Premier League match in London, then tour the magnificent home grounds of Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United. Then on to Cardiff in Wales for the FA Cup final. Every week, 5 lucky consolation prize winners will also win a TWG supporters pack, including a limited edition TWG jersey, cap and mug. This is a football fan's trip of a lifetime, and you can only win it by watching the World Game on SBS every Sunday.
Yes, a great prize. Unfortunately, I can't enter as an employee of SBS, but there's only 5 weeks until the winner is selected, so get your name in the draw. And you have to be in it to win it, of course. OK, well, it's almost time for me to say goodbye, but before we do, let's take a look at what's coming up on the international week ahead. And tonight, there's plenty of city pride at stake in Rome and Buenos Aires, while there's also a South Coast derby in England. The league leaders in Scotland, Germany and Portugal are on the road, while Ajax is at home in the Netherlands, and there's more from Belgium and Spain. On Monday, Leeds hosts Manchester City in England, while Rangers welcome Dunfermline to Glasgow. There are internationals in the Middle East on Tuesday and Wednesday. The quarter-finals of the UEFA Champions League kick off in Portugal and Italy and continue on Thursday in Spain and England. On Friday, the pick of the UEFA Cup second legs take us to Eindhoven, Rome, Milan, Barcelona, Marseille, Mallorca and Valencia, while top league action continues in England, France and Germany on Saturday. A reminder that our UEFA Champions League coverage continues on Wednesday morning from 6:30 a.m. with AC Milan versus Deportivo La Coruña, and then on Thursday night from 10 p.m, we're in London for yet another massive clash between city rivals Chelsea and Arsenal. As always, you can keep in touch with all the sporting news on a daily basis from 7 p.m. Monday to Friday and from 6 p.m. on weekends on Toyota World Sports. And with the English Premier League highlight show continuing on Monday from 7:30 p.m, don't forget to join us for that as well. But we leave you now with a birthday tribute to Barcelona's Brazilian playmaker Ronaldinho, who turns 24 today. For now, from the World Game, goodbye.
No ombro uma tatuagem, camisa desbotada e bermudão. Misterioso ele dançava e eu de olho nele desde que chegou. De repente seu olhar nos meus olhos penetrou, sustentando a olhada. Se chegou sem dizer nada, me pegou com suas garras e pra pista me arrastou. Maionese, ele me bate, bate feito maionese. E o que eu tinha tomado subiu direto e foi pra cabeça. Maionese, ele me bate, bate feito maionese. Nem sei mais como me chamou. E onde eu vivo já não interessa. Batendo palmas pra baixo e pra cima, um coro levanta e canta e grita. Bate que bate, lá vem o chocolate. Bate que bate, bate que bate, lá vem o chocolate. Tatuagem, camisa desbotada e bermudão. Misterioso ele dançava e eu de olho nele desde que chegou. De repente o seu olhar